Hey everyone, welcome back to GM Details and happy Halloween. This Ford Transit Custom has been sitting around for around 6 months not being used, and the local garden spiders decided to make a home of it. So the detail from the customer is to clean it inside and out. So I'm going to be using a few products from Bilt-Hamber for this one, with some touch on for that added lasting protection. Let's get into it. I've chosen Bilt-Hamber today for a few reasons. Number one, a subscriber commented in a recent video that Surfex HD made a really good wheel cleaner at 20:1. Whoa, I just had to try this, especially on these wheels, and I want to show you an easy and effective way of using autofoam in a lance, and it might just stir up some controversy. So we have the usual algae in the panel gaps, bird crap, which will be extremely lucky if that's not etched in, and enough of a build-up of Sahara sand you could put in an envelope and post it back to them. I was flicking through Amazon the other day and I saw that these are now sold in a 4-pack of various colours for just over £20 with free shipping for Prime members. They're immensely handy, preventing your hose jamming underneath the wheels. It's such a simple design, but it works so well. I'll pop a link for them in the description for you to check out. They're called the Detail Guards. The Ford Mineral Grey paint is such a forgiving colour in that even when it's dirty, it doesn't really show up that well. Before I go in to clean the alloys, tyres and arches, I'm going to pre-rinse the vehicle down, which will have some time to dry off again before I use any pre-wash chemicals. That way they're neither being over diluted or just slip off the panels too quickly either. Inside the fuel flap we have some AdBlue crystals and the usual capless fuel flap from Ford, but I still wanted to make sure no pressurised water was going to get in, so I'm using a nitrile glove to cover up the cap. It might be unnecessary, but I'm covering all bases, as it's always best to be safe than sorry. Up on the roof there's some dried in grime down the rain channels, which will benefit from being pre-soaked at least to help soften it, as the summer sun will have baked that on. You'll see a little bit later on how I got on with that. The pre-rinse hasn't shifted much of the baked on brake dust from these wheels, so it'll be a good test for Surfex HD at 20:1. Well, I opted for the easier dilution of 19:1, which is around 50 millilitres of Surfex to 950 millilitres of water, warm water in this case. So I have a full litre of what is effectively an all-purpose cleaner, as at this dilution it's going to be tackling a whole host of tasks from the wheels, plastics to the interior. Remember, this is my first time using Surfex on wheels, and I bought it specifically to try out on your recommendations, so thank you for the tips on dilutions etc. I must say that's pretty impressive, isn't it? No fallout removers, no ready to use wheel cleaners, just an all-purpose cleaner. Now I say just, meaning just for what it is. It's hardly used any product at all, and those wheel faces show what's likely 99% dirt removal for a few pence worth of product. So for Alan, Ant and all the rest of you who commented on previous videos, a huge thank you. Just out of interest, I'm going to spray the wheels now with corrosion just to see what level of contamination has been left behind. The dwell time was sped up there 100 times to reveal what's mainly coming from behind the spokes, so the wheels are probably pretty contaminated behind them and they would benefit from being removed and cleaned off the van, but not today. The pre-wash of choice today is Bilt-Hamber Auto Foam. It won't be a stranger to most of you watching, but in case you're just getting into detailing, this is a high alkaline pre-wash chemical. It costs around £20 for 5 litres, and as you can see it's quite thin. Thin means wet, and if it can cling on and dwell long enough, should be a very good product, and in most cases it is, and loved by many in the industry. Dilutions have proved to be a little tricky for people to work out, but I'm working with this neat today and in the MJJC lands too. Now before you spit out your pumpkin soup, it's not been applied neat. Have a look at the green liquid in the tank. Here's when I start and here's where I finish. Granted, it's not a scientific test or calculation to work things out, but I've simply turned the top dial of the lance to what I feel is a good level of product thickness which can dwell, and after coating the whole of the van twice to demonstrate, I've hardly used any of it at all, and the remainder can easily be returned back to the container without even measuring a thing. And while the foam is dwelling, I'm taking the opportunity to get around some of the areas where agitating with a brush is a must, and I'm using the Work Stuff 16mm classic brush. It's got longer bristles and thin to get in behind places like this mirror and up inside wind deflectors, grills, etc. It's a nice little brush for around £3. Due to the amount of areas needing some brushwork attention, the foam has all but disappeared from the panels, so I'm going to get on with rinsing the autofoam residue off. As you can see, even using it diluted by eye instead of measuring it out, it's still really easy to rinse away. I've heard of people having issues removing autofoam, leaving some sort of residue behind, but I can't say I've found this as a problem at all. It rinses off very easily, doesn't leave foam on the ground for days, and leaves this particular vehicle clean enough to carry out the contact wash. Would you be tempted to try it this way in your lance next time and use the dilution dial on the top of the lance? Or are you very much in favour of having the dilution accurate before you start? Let me know in the comments which works best for you. You can see how much this fan is in need of some decent protection, and remember, coming up I'm going to be using Bilt-Hamber Touch On through the lance, so keep watching to see how that goes. But for now, remember the grime that was up on top of the roof? You've no idea how precarious this is up on a step, holding the camera and a trigger gun filming in the wind just to bring you some decent content. It'll all be worth it if you all hit that like button and show me how much you appreciate it. Remember, this has had no more than a single application of autofoam left to soak and now rinses away nicely. So there's a wee bit more stubborn areas were removed when I put the camera down. Oh come on, I can't put a tripod up here to show you. If you watched the Corsa videos, you'll have seen me using the Blitzed Detailing Supreme shampoo. This stuff is amazing lance applied, spraying a nice creamy layer of soap, and anything else that's left over you can spray it directly into the wash bucket, which gives you all the suds and slickness you need and allows the wash mitt to do its job with ease. The shampoo itself is supposed to be jelly bean. I get apple from it, but everyone might get something different. And as soon as you mention that particular shampoo, people recoil in horror, and I don't understand that. This shampoo puts a lot to shame. Yes, it's mass produced, and yes, it's the same as some other brands. It's not pretending to be anything else. I think some people just need to wind their necks in a bit, don't you? Now don't get me wrong, I'm not a fan of using this method with any other shampoo but this one, so far anyway. And for a large vehicle like this, it just makes sense with only using 25 to 45 millilitres of shampoo. Just look at how much shampoo it's delivered. And although I wouldn't rely on the shampoo to actually clean contactlessly, it's an excellent lubricant for a wash mitt, clay mitts, and neutralising chemicals like tar remover and fallout removers. The wash pad I'm using is Garage Therapy's, and it really comes into its own on a large vehicle like this. It doesn't look too big here at all, and it's perfectly malleable to negotiate all of the transits, crevices and flat panels equally well. And if you want to clean the undersills, you could always use the Garage Therapy wheel mitt. That's an excellent size for getting those areas done. Just to rinse off the last of the Blitzed Supreme shampoo now before applying the Bilt-Hamber Touch On crystalline hydrophobic treatment. I've already made a couple of videos using Bilt-Hamber's Touch On, different ways you can apply it, etc. If you haven't seen them, I'll put those links to the videos in the description below so you can go and watch them at your leisure. Applying Touch On via a snow foam lance is my preferred way to apply it. You'll know what I'm talking about if you go and watch those videos. It's not like a ceramic infused snow foam. This one actually seems to bond on contact, so it's important you actually apply it to a wet vehicle. One sachet was used in a litre of water for this lance, and it was more than enough to coat the whole van. I didn't want to keep any back, so I went over a few areas again. It's wasting product, I know, but it's not applying layers as such, and there's always the possibility of mist somewhere, so what's the harm? I'm not sure how popular this product is, as there's not a lot of YouTubers using it, nor do you see many use it on forums and groups on social media. This was my last sachet, and it's definitely not on my list for reordering. It's certainly handy for a larger vehicle like this for adding quick protection and for winter cleans when it's too cold to be out cleaning the car for 6 hours and freezing your fingers off applying a wax. All that aside though, the water behaviour is now much better than it was, and it does look a lot glossier and a darker, richer grey now. I'm not going to leave it wet just in case there's any streaks, even although it started to rain. I'm drying it off with the twisted loop gold member drying towel that's still only around £10 and a fantastic double-sided looped microfiber which can soak up nearly 4 times its own weight in water. So the final results are in and the wheels have been transformed with the help of Surfex. Maybe Corrosol Follet Remover helped a little bit too. The paintwork is glossy and hydrophobic, the panel gaps are spiderweb free and the whole van is looking like new again. An absolutely brilliant one brand transformation, with the exception of the shampoo, and that's honestly because I don't like Bilt-Hamber Auto Wash shampoo. Spoiled slightly by the rain a little, but for a snow foam and shampoo with a spray protection, she ain't looking too bad. The interior needed very little thankfully, just a wipe down on the upper dash plastics, some brushwork around the air vents and glass cleaner on the piano black trims, the infotainment display and obviously the glass and windscreen. Surfex HD again to clean the pedals, the carpet mats and of course the step, finished off with Wax Planet Redress which is an anti-static matte dressing. Did anyone spot the paint transfer on the front alloy while I was cleaning it? There's a very easy way to get this off. Petrol, thinners, WD-40, but tar and glue remover is what I'm going to use. I'm using a disposable pad, but you could use a microfiber cloth here too, and gloves are highly recommended. This was just before handover and I nearly forgot about it, so I was in a rush. So much of a rush I even tipped over the bottle of Spartar as this trigger wasn't working, so I opened the bottle up and obviously didn't follow Mark from Sparkling Auto's advice to always put the cap back on. Anyway, I'm glad it was only a sample bottle. It was the first one I came to since I'd been using it on the Corsa in the last video. So it's simply a case of applying the product. You could even let it soak in with applying the pad directly for a few minutes, but I really don't have the time for that here. A few rubs and the paint comes away nice and easily. Thank you all for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a fantastic Halloween. See you on the next one. Cheery bye.